here we go. I'm going to blow my face off again. I thought I'd do this quick vlog here because it was mentioned on the Model Car Hobby Headquarters Facebook group about something that just happened in our hobby. And I'm all about doing current events in our hobby. That's what I started this channel for. So thanks to Rob Spear for suggesting me to do this. Wanted to get my take on the ending of Scale Auto. Well, Scale Auto. I'm going to first say it's a bummer, but it's a sign of the times. Hate to see it. Can't say I'm not surprised. What we're doing right here, right now, you're watching YouTube, the internet, that's what killed print. It's been killing print for the past, 10 years or so. So, magazine, hold on a second, I'm getting a visit. Well, hello there, can't you see I'm doing something? You just want to, see, he's ticked off about it too. Hi, bud. Okay, now he wants to touch tools. Come here. We're going to talk about this. Bam! Alright, so you guys can look at the top of the head of my grandson. I'm going to get hit with this, I know it. So anyways, the thing about Scale Auto is, what it means to me is, I can't say that I'm not surprised. Print is just been going down the tubes the past 10 years. Newspapers are shutting down, you know. And I gotta say, with the internet, I mean, well, magazines in general. How many of you have, how about you? What do you think of magazines? You don't care. Can't even read them yet. But I used to get magazines all the time, you know, for building my model cars, all kinds of different automotive magazines, and I had tons and tons of them. And one of my moves, a couple of moves ago, I was like, I've been carrying these things around with me. I threw them away. I could have sold them. Nobody wanted them. Remember, you used to be able to sell magazines. You could get like $5, $6, $7 a piece for them. Nobody wanted them. Nobody needed them. Everything that was in my magazines I could find online now. And that's why I was unloading them. I kept some special ones. I still have quite a bit, actually, of a lot of different, like especially Hot Rod. I love Hot Rod magazine. I collected up really old ones. And that's what they are. Most of them are it's more collector items now, and they're probably more and more going to get thrown out. Let me take care of him. So I just found myself, I wasn't personally using magazines anymore for reference. I just started building up such a collection of pictures that I needed, and anytime I need something, we can just get on our phone and look it up. So there was really no need as far as like things that we learn in Scale Auto. Now we'll get into the whole model thing is, well, everything's online. We can talk to people. We can have discussions now. We got YouTube. We got a fool like me blowing my mouth off about the hobby, saying what I got to say, doing my editorials, and doing whatever I do with tips or whatever. And there really isn't a need for magazines anymore. It's a sad thing, hate to say it, but there is not a need. That's why they had to scale back, no pun intended. I guess they're combining Scale Auto into Fine Scale Modeler, and that's going to vanish too. And quite honestly, I mean, I know about this from the hobby shops. Andy personally stopped carrying all magazines because he was ending up purchasing these magazines, not selling any, and then only getting like just a portion of the credit back when he'd send the magazines back because they didn't sell. It was getting so bad that he felt there was no need to even sell them anymore. So when he stopped selling them, I know there was a couple other places I could go get them, or I could do, but quite honestly, I was getting Scale Autos and they just weren't doing anything for me. I could find everything online. So me personally, I don't think I've even looked at a Scale Auto or bought one in the past maybe 8 years, 10 years possibly. I'm not talking bad about Scale Auto. Scale Auto is a special thing to me, and I'm going to get to that here shortly because I want to talk a little bit about what Scale Auto was to the hobby. And what Scale Auto was to the hobby, yeah, I'm going to talk about it now. Scale Auto was probably what in the 70s, when the hobby was at its lull, rejuvenated it. It was the great magazine. I have tons of issues. I've got them right up here. I've got a bunch of the old classic issues, and the issues, you know, when it was like, to me, what I always call the renaissance of the hobby was like in the 80s. When I started, and I started to discover that this was a big hobby. First of all, Scale Auto I sent a letter to him back in 1988, and it was published in the November 1988 issue. I wrote it to them saying, hey, I'm trying to find if there's a model club here in this town where I'm at. You know, I can't go any farther with the hobby or whatever. If you guys have that issue, you can find my little letter I wrote. And in that I mentioned a builder by the name of Don Farney, who I admired. And back in those days, he was the guy who built amazing drag cars, if you don't know about him. And he contacted me, and we became being kind of pen pals after that. And also I got a contact by a couple of guys in town here. One by the name of Greg Myers. I know you're watching, Greg. I talked to Greg. He's a regular on the group. Greg called me, said, hey, there's a club here in town, and I joined the local club for a lot of years when they were really good. Learned a lot from those guys. So Scale Auto connected me and launched my hobby even farther. But even before that, I remember the first Scale Auto I grabbed, and this one is important. As a matter of fact, you know what? I'm going to grab it. Well, first of all, you know, I know I even have an older one than this. But this is one of my oldest ones. I got them in these books. But let's see. I want to find. Here it is. This is the very magazine that started for me. The very first Scale Auto that I ever purchased. This is not I bought it again or nothing. This is the one. I found this at the local hobby shop. Actually, I was like, is there any books on how to detail model cars? And he goes, well, there's this magazine. And I looked at it, and holy mackerel, I just went bonkers. Let me see if I can find something that was probably one of the most first inspirational articles I saw in this magazine. And what I liked about the early days, oh, here it is. I liked how they did model car coverage, model car show coverage. Let's get back here. Model car show coverage. And I know this thing right here. This is the guys up in Toronto, Canada. And I think this club still exists. Maybe one of you guys make a comment below. This thing, I still want to build something like this. And this is just a part of that. If you can see it. Listen, and you guys see that? Ooh, that thing bent my mind. That diorama of that Chrysler dealership, the whole showroom. That's probably one of the most influential things I saw when I grabbed this. And guys like this Chuck Larson, he was a builder that was in Scale Auto a lot. He did this thing right here, this van. I mean, I saw stuff like that and went, holy cow. Scale Auto opened my eyes to an adult hobby. I just went, this was another article. I was into NASCAR, so. And it was, there's another article on, before they did the kit, how to make one of those super sport Impalas, oh, El Caminos, off the cuff. Oh, and here was a real important, I remember seeing this picture, okay? This was done by a guy in California named Jim Bunch, and I went to a model show and met Jim Bunch and saw this model, and it was like meeting one of my heroes. And a lot of these guys, these were all California guys. I saw this, wow, California had some cool modelers. And it was actually in this, not this issue, but a couple issues later, there was a advertisement for a show in Long Beach, and I had to roll to it. And I met some of those guys, and that was just neat. That just launched my hobby. So Scale Auto just connected me to me thinking I was this weird, at the time, an adult. I was probably 19, 20 years old, thinking I'm too old to be building models. This is a kid's thing, but I'm really enjoying it, so I kept it to myself. Then I found out there's other adult builders when I found this magazine, and that they were building amazing models. I'm just going off the cuff here. Yeah, that was probably one of my most influential models, because at the time I also had a white 78 Camaro, so I thought this was cool, and I love Camaros. Yeah, the Mustang guy. I mostly had Camaros. I just recently became the Mustang guy. Anyways, Jim Bunch. And then Jim also had another, that was Jim's car. I saw that model at that show and a couple other ones. And, you know, there was Jack Davis, Jack Davis. Little history here, Jack Davis. that's the grandpa of curbside, real curbsides that got really popular, and Jack was the one who really brought that in. And I remember going, and I had one model I did, and I think I'll do a Luka's build on this model next. I still have it. It was my first purpose-built model to go to model shows. That actually, it was something in Hot Rod I saw that brought me to this. I saw a model car contest in Hot Rod, and there was a particular model, and I'll cover that some other time, that inspired me really big, and I built this one model. And then I actually got to compete against that model that inspired my model. The model that inspired my model, because I saw it not only in Hot Rod, but I saw it in Scale Auto later. And then I went to the second model show that I talked about going, that was my first model show, done by someone I mentioned before, Ron Bolton, Mad Dog Models. Him and his brother put on a great show in the early days in the 80s. I'm rambling. You know, I'm probably not going to edit this. I'm just going to put this out there. This is what it means to me, what Scale Auto meant to me. It was the root of it. But anyways, yeah, they did that model show in Buena Park, and well, the first one was in Long Beach, the second one was in Buena Park, and but I don't remember the name of the show. But it was my first model show, and I met Jim Bunch, and I met a lot of the early guys, Mike Flynn. Jack Davis was there, the guy I just talked about. But there were so many influential West Coast modelers at this show, and I got to meet them all, and it was really cool. And that was because of, you know, I saw the ad in Scale Auto for that model show. And I got to say, it really changed my life, because I was on a different path, and I was getting sick of that path. Because back then I was still building models, but it wasn't that serious of a thing to me, and I was kind of into something else. And as you can see from back here, I got these guitars. Back in the 80s, I was playing in metal bands, and yeah, you guys guess who I am. I'm in this picture, and I'm not going to tell you which one I am. You tell me in the comments below. So I that's what I looked like when I went to these shows, and when I went there and I went to that club, people kind of tripped out on me. I wasn't your typical model, and I was one of the young ones too. I found that was really odd. They were all older guys. So I knew it wasn't a kid's sport. It was an adult sport. And this was 1988, 89. And I met these guys, and they were so cool. They were nice to me and didn't judge me or nothing like that. And I learned a lot. And I remember Jim Bunch was the coolest. We became friends. I spent the first show I went to, I spent the whole day. I didn't know anybody, and he kind of like took me under his wing and taught me a lot that day. He taught me a lot about the hobby, and they looked at my car and go, hey, that's a great, you know, everybody was real positive of the car that I had, even like when I brought it to the first model meeting too, and everybody's like, that's cool, that's cool. And I wasn't good as most of those guys. And they were all positive, and they were all, hey, you know, you just do this and this, and it'll even be better your next build. And every build I did was better. And I got to say, because of Scale Auto, this issue right here, this issue of Scale Auto changed my life. And forever, I will always have the Scale Auto Enthusiast, I'll call it Scale Auto Enthusiast, will be something special in my heart. So the other day when we got the news that they went down, again, not surprised, and sorry to say, just because it just wasn't really doing its job for me anymore. I wasn't supporting it the past 10 years. It wasn't that accessible, and I just didn't see a big need for it. Sorry. Someone will say, hey, if they meant so much to you, why don't you support them? Well, there was other things to do, and I just didn't get anything out of the magazines anymore of what I used to, because it was all on the internet. And they had a website, and I would go onto their website and check out what they had. That was cool, and they had a great message board when message boards were the thing. But, you know, it's the sign of the times. It's bummer, but it's the sign of the times. I don't want to say we're going to have this empty, we're not going to have this emptiness in the hobby. We're going to have a nostalgic emptiness in the hobby, but the hole that they leave has already been filled with the internet. A lot of people, just like the argument of, oh, the hobby's dying because kids play video games, which is absurd. It's absurd. Hobby's not dying. It's probably better than it ever has been. It's just things change. It's called evolution. And we've got the internet, and the internet has made the hobby even better. It's just like I had a business that had to do with model cars a few years back. I did put an ad in. I used them. They helped my business at the time out great with ads. But if I had that business today, I don't think I would have advertised with them at all. You could do it all on the internet. There really wasn't a need anymore. So I'm sure that's how a lot of the advertisers felt. So they were starting to drop off. I know we did some model shows, and I put on model shows. And back then it was like, I want to put an ad for my model show in Scale Auto. It was prestigious, and it did. It pulled a lot of people in. But again, we didn't have the internet. So the internet is the thing that's killing the print media. It's just how it is. And we've got YouTube, and you don't really need it. Yes, it's too bad. I feel extremely bad for the people that worked for them. But they had to have seen the writing on the wall and getting prepared for it, because that's what everybody in print media is doing. They're diversifying. It's the only way you can exist these days. Like all these hobby shops that shut down, they didn't diversify. Because I know for a fact that if you have a hobby shop, you could survive today if you just diversify and change with the times. And that goes with everything. You just got to change with the times. It's the way it is. It's the way it is with this adult hobby that we have, that the newcomers that come in are these kids of 30 and 40 years old. Those are the kids coming into the hobby, and that's who we need to start aiming towards. And Scale Auto was saying that in the 70s, because Scale Auto always, as much as it was for the kids, and you want to support the kids to get them in the hobby, and it was a little more relevant back then. But Scale Auto came online back in 78, 79. But Scale Auto, when they first came out, it was to celebrate and to feature adult model car builders. It was always about that. So the hobby moves on. It is better than it ever has been. Like I said, I've been building model cars since 1984 is when I got into it, right when I got out of high school. And it was awesome in the 80s, but it's amazing right now. If it was like in the 80s what it is like now, I mean, you could just look at the level of what people can build like today compared to even like looking 1988. When I went to my first show, and the models that blew my mind there, which a lot of them could still do amazing today, but what guys are building today is just off the charts. It would have been mind-blowing to go into a time machine and take an award-winning model at a model show today and take it to the model shows of the late 80s. Those guys would be absolutely floored. And now it's like almost common the way models are being built. That's the evolution of the hobby, and Scale Auto had a giant part of it. So again, I'm going to take my hat off for Scale Auto. Thank you very much. You did amazing things for the hobby. Hopefully they will never be forgotten. Maybe there'll be some kind of tribute to them later on. I don't see why they didn't start a website. They have a website, why they didn't start a Facebook or something, do more on the internet. And they tried it, and it didn't really, I don't know. To me, I'm going to be quite honest, when the new group of people took over, I think its decline was in 2000. I think a big mistake was how they wanted to freshen it up or whatever when they changed the logo and then eventually dropped the Enthusiast and they just called it Scale Auto. I think that was a bad mistake. I think it started sliding down from there. I think another big mistake Scale Auto did, which is something that what was great about these issues was what I showed you, the first thing that caught my eye when I opened this up. Model shows. Model shows. Yes, you had the annual, which is still a great idea, but I think it was a bad decision to never put model contests, model shows in the actual bi-monthly print. That was a bad move, because when I got into doing the production of model shows, and I knew other people that did that, that was something we all wanted. And it was like, oh, you got into the contest annual. Well, almost anybody could get into the contest annual, but the creme de la creme shows would get into the main print, and they stopped that. That was a mistake too. This is all my opinion, but I'm just saying this was the downfall. And then Flat Out Internet came, that crushed it. But to me, and I think a Scale Auto Enthusiast SAE, that's the logo. And hey, I want to show you guys something. Where the heck did I do them? I got something from back in the day when I put on model shows. And check this out, I got tons of them. Boom. Placement cards. Remember these placement cards at model shows? And they sent me these one year when I was doing a contest. We ended up making our own, and I kept these. And I sent some to the museum, which I hate to see that museum go away, but there's that museum up in Salt Lake, and I sent some of these to them, and just I have tons of them. I want to still find a use. I will not throw them away. That's so cool. That is a logo. When I think of Scale Auto Enthusiast, that's it. That's the logo. If anybody who is still involved over in Kallenbach, you want to try to do something to maybe say, hey, thanks for the Times Builders, and bring some nostalgia back. Do something either on the internet or something. Just why don't you bring that back? Just for, you know, a one-time thing. It's something to think about later on. And maybe we can just keep this alive. You guys were around back in the old days. I know that logo right there strikes a very fond, fuzzy, nice, loving memory in your little black heart. Does my black heart. I love that logo. That logo means everything to me. It's what made this hobby frickin' awesome. It's what I remember, the Scale Auto Enthusiast. And sorry they're gone, but you know, it's just how things are today. It was inevitable, but that's my take on it. That's what they mean to me. And I feel bad for the people that work for them. They got to go find new jobs, but that happens to a lot of people in this day and age. And I'm sure they'll be fine. I know some of them, and I've met some over the years and talked to them, and a lot of those people that were involved in Scale Auto had other things going, and they utilized the internet. I know, like one particular one, Terry Jesse, for instance. I believe he has a Facebook, and he's doing his stuff on there. Outstanding journalist. There were some really good journalists that were on there. Clay Kemp got involved with it later in the years, did a bunch of stuff. I could go on with people, you know, but I met a bunch of them over the years, and it was just it was a cool magazine. And the time of the magazines are over. It's the internet. We got new stuff happening, and us YouTubers. So that's that. So I want to thank you guys for your support for us. And one day we'll probably be history, and something else will be better than YouTube, and we'll get shoved off to the side. It'll happen to us. In the meantime, thanks for supporting the YouTube channel. Go over to the Facebook group, Model Car Hobby Headquarters Facebook group. Join up there. And I want to thank my Patreons. Thanks, guys. You guys are the bestest. You guys are the producers of the show. And thank you so much for your support. Go over to my Teespring store and get all the shirts and the mugs and the shirts and the things and the stuffs. And that helps support the show. And what really helps support the show, make a comment down there. Whether it says, dude, why do you have a yellow tooth? That's stupid. It helps us out with a comment. And shoot us a like. And subscribe if you haven't. Share. Get on the other groups. Get onto this group, our group, whatever. Share all over the internet. And that's what helps us keep this thing going. So that's what I have to say. I'm going to shut the heck up now. I have another video for you I'm trying to finish up, but I thought I'd throw this out there just because this happened now, and I didn't have time yesterday. I had to go to work when I first read, Mr. Spears there mention, hey, Luka, why don't you do a video on your take on this? Well, there's my take. Let's discuss. Down there, let's discuss it. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks.